This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Jess.
I'm Rhiannon.
And today we're talking about if we were to win the lottery, what would we spend that money on? Which is something I think everyone's been asked in their lifetime before. It's just like one of those questions, isn't it, that you might ask your friend, like if you had like unlimited source of money, like where would you put that money? And having like spoken about it previously before, you and I, I feel like we have different approaches to maybe where we would put that money, and I'm really hoping that this episode doesn't come across like I'm a really selfish person.
I was just saying to you, I hope that I don't come across as someone who just isn't able to think for myself, so I just like, okay, everyone else,
right, okay, you have it. Yeah. So what would you spend that money on?
Okay, well, what kind of lottery are we talking here? Like, because there's varying quantities that, you know, so are we talking like unlimited amount of money here, or is there a, because then you're not actually telling me an amount. Honestly, when people say, oh, what would you do if you won the money and they won the lottery and give me an amount, I start dissecting it, like literally. Like, right, how much do I have left over here?
Okay, I'll give you an amount. 64 million pounds.
Okay. So first things first, I don't know if this is like cliche or not, but I instantly like, right, let's set mum and dad up. Like, yeah, they're sorted, don't have to think about them. So I'll set them up. Not too sure how much I'm giving them, but I know it's a hefty sum to keep them.
10 million? Why not?
Yeah, like maybe a bit more, like, because then I'm like, they're really comfortable, and they'd like, if there was any I don't know, like, just that should cover them for a few decent like rocket ship flights if something goes really bad with the world. I don't know.
Okay. Oh god, you're coming from like a fear point again.
Yeah, it's always fear for me, isn't it? Like, all right, that should cover them for everything. I'd give some to my brother as well, and literally, as you can already hear, I'm basically giving it away. Like,
what about you?
Well, I don't know what I would need it for, other than like, so I would set people up in my life that I think need help, and then I would want like a place for myself, so I'd probably finally get like a dream renovated barn for myself with as many rescue animals as I can have, and a vegetable patch and all those sort of things, and then all of the like techie equipment that I want, like cameras and recording stuff, and then maybe like a little bit saved to travel, but then everything else is going to charity. Personally, like, I don't, for me, I'm like, I can work for money, like money can come back to me, whereas this amount, when am I ever going to be able to donate that to charity? Like, they can have it, sort of thing.
Okay,
so that's me. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd start off similar to you. I think that it would maybe this might be selfish. Maybe I'd start with making sure we've got a place. I think, do you know what? I think maybe that my view has changed since having Mila. So it'd be kind of like, right. Yeah, so it'd be like Mila.
Yeah.
Put something away in her like savings, so that when she's older, she can't touch it until she's a certain age.
Yeah.
And yeah, so set us up, so that maybe we don't have a mortgage, or I think I'd want to throw some treats in that. I'd want to go on like a nice
why not,
break away. I'd like to maybe get us a new car. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with the car we've got now, but it's just, it's just one of those things. But if it's something like 64 million, it's like, well, I can get a nice car and make a little dent in the money, but not like, you know, still got a fair amount left over. If it was just like, if it was like £1 million, maybe I'd rethink it a bit more.
Right. Yeah, I think 64 is quite, yeah, definitely. You start prioritizing like, okay, what do we actually need and stuff.
How bad is it? I think of £1 million, I think that's not actually loads.
No,
do you know what I mean? Because property's here.
Yes, that's exactly my thought. I was like, that's not even going to cover some houses here, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, that's so ridiculous. And I wouldn't want to think that I'm spending that on a house here. That, like, I hope that never happens.
Yeah.
I understand that when you like think of it like that, it changes everything. And even though there's no way if you and I were given £1 million today, as if we would be unaffected, we'd be like, oh my God, like this is
Of
insane.
course.
This is huge amounts of money. I've
Yeah.
never had that amount of money ever in my life. So
Yeah.
of course that would be a big deal. But when you look at it as what you can get for it, at least in this country, it's sort of like, oh.
I really do have to sit and think about like what's worth.
Yeah.
So this was another thing I was going to ask you. So do you see money as something that comes and goes, or is it something that you think, you know, for example, if you won the lottery, that's something I should invest into something else and see it grow? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I am someone, this sounds weird. I kind of think I'm both. I think that money does come and go. So if I'm ever stressed about stuff, I'm like, do you know what? This isn't worth the stress. Money will come again. Like it will be fine. Because I'm currently in that position at the moment. Like I'm not really getting a consistent income and that sort of stuff. But I'm like, it will happen. But I'm also comfortable in the sense that I don't have to worry about bills right now. Like I live with my family, and I'm just in a position that's very privileged and fortunate. So yes, I think money comes and goes, but I also understand the importance of saving and being careful, because I am someone who's careful as well. So investing, yes, in some ways, but I think I have to really understand what I'm investing in. So I am someone who's invested tiny amounts of money, just to put that out there, tiny amounts of money in different things. But you know, investments take time, and I sort of had to look into them before I did it. So we'll see. And also I think I invest in myself as well, like my business, the podcast, and some other things that are going on. Like I've, you know, those are what I see as investments, because I believe in the longevity of them all.
Yeah.
But I think to some people, like investment is certain things like stocks, or you know,
properties,
more traditional. Yeah, exactly.
I think you touched on it earlier. You said if you earned the money and you had become super successful and super rich, would that affect your decisions on where that money would be spent on, as opposed to if it's just almost been handed to you because by chance you won it in the lottery? Would that change your decisions on what you'd spend that money on?
Maybe. I think the idea of being given a lot of money, I think I'm quite skeptical of as well. I'm like, is someone actually going to come after this amount of money?
Like MTV, like you're punked.
yeah, like I would just be like, I think that might be why I'm so quick to like get rid of it. It's not mine. Like, don't worry,
go away.
Yeah. Like give it to charity. Like they can have it. You can't take money from charity. They take it. But I think the idea of, I don't know if this is something like being conditioned as well, but I think the thought of earning the money, then I'm like, that's mine. Like, so I can choose to spend that on me if I want to.
Is that almost like you're more deserving of it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, we're getting deep.
But then, so like when my granddad gives me money though, and by the way, that makes me sound like so like, oh, granddad gives me money. Like I don't mean like that. Like if my granddad decides to give me like a tenner as a treat or something, I'm quite quick to spend that.
Right, okay.
Like I'm like, yay, cool. I don't that covers the £10 that I was gonna have to spend myself.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. But then no one's giving me like millions and stuff. So I'm not I don't know. Like, yeah. Sorry, I don't know if that's helping.
I think no, I get it, because I think if you've earned it, I also think you've probably got more things to reinvest in, right? So like if you've got your business, like you said, or if you've got your farm with the vegetable, the crops and the animals and stuff, you're probably going to put that money back into it to sustain it, right, and to help that grow. But if it
the things that you've just said, like repeating back to me what I've said, seems like the things that I spend money on, it's like a cycle. I don't think I tend to spend money on things that are one-offs. So for example, I can only think of one thing actually that's like a selfish, just me thing, and that's laser hair removal.
Yeah.
Like I would want that so bad, and it just costs a lot of money, but that's not something that you have to keep coming back to, really. Like you're only meant to do it a
sessions,
done. So
100%. I was thinking earlier, like I struggle, like this is a question I wanted to ask you as well, like if you had that money and you did have a bit, you'd given your amounts to charity, is there like a luxury item or something that you would allow yourself to treat yourself to?
I don't think it's an item, it's consistent well-being. So I would want therapy, like I do therapy once a month. I would like it to be maybe every fortnight, and I would like to be able to afford to go to yoga more, and I would like to be able to go to the gym all the time. Like for me, it's mostly well-being things, and like certain foods and shopping places that are just too expensive. I think honestly,
like Whole Foods.
Yes, oh my God. Like I think it would just be my cost of living would just be a little bit more bougie, I guess, but for the sake of my wellness and health.
Okay.
When I think of other things, I can't really, like, even travel, I'm like, well, I don't mind continuing to fly economy, like as long as it gets me to the place, like I don't mind that. Sure. So yeah, I think for me it's just like upping the limit.
You're not like a handbag, shoes kind of person at all?
I don't think I am. Like maybe like more clothes, but like at the same time I'm like, don't really need them right now.
Do you ever think, like, if you were in that position, say like you decided to pursue music and you got really big and you were invited to like award shows and stuff, and you had a stylist, for example, and you were kind of introduced to this, and you were introduced to this whole like kind of unlimited world of fashion and shoes and beauty and all of this, do you think then, because you're kind of more exposed to it, that you might take more of an interest and kind of be like, oh, okay, maybe I can spend a little bit on that? Or
I think being the person I am, I would use that as a moment to make a statement. I would be like, no, I'm finding the most sustainable small business I can find and lifting them up. I am finding makeup brands that align with my ethos and what I want. Like I would want to bring up people that aren't spoken about, like everyone that we see as brands. This is I'm not consciously avoiding brands. I've never grown up with them. I don't know them.
We're not exposed to them because they're too kind of out of our sphere,
unattainable almost. So I'm like, no, let me actually bring up like the people that or the companies that I see and that the everyday person, I guess, sees. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be how I'd want to go. And as fun as that would be, like and don't get me wrong, I think if I had the chance, I probably would want to say that I had the chance to collaborate with these big artists and designers, for example, but I would want them to collaborate with me with someone else. So I'd want to say, for example, Balmain, I'd be like, okay, I want to work with you, but you're going to also hire this person who's designed these things, or this seamstress who gets these things locally sourced, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I would want a collab here that's lifting others with me, I think.
Sure. Okay.
I sound like anyway, you
I also wanted to talk about, why is money so hard to talk about? Like,
I don't get
it just feels awkward, doesn't it? Right. So just talking with even friends and family, I mean, obviously I don't imagine a lot of people would speak very openly with strangers, like on the street or on public transport, about money, but even with friends and family,
I think that's the difference. That's a bit dangerous because you're maybe
too trustworthy.
You're putting yourself in a position where you could potentially get like scammed and your money taken from you, sort of thing. So your friends shouldn't do that. Or your family.
You would hope not. But why is that so difficult? Like, were you brought up to not talk about money?
I was thinking about this, and I think in some ways yes, and in many ways no. So I was brought up in it in the sense that I wouldn't ever really ask about, like, I don't think I ever thought about that. Like, it wasn't something that I personally thought about. I think my earliest memory of money is like pocket money. So my parents or my mum would give us £1 a week, and that was a big deal when we were kids. And it was, just usually just by being like good and helping out or whatever. And I think I saved it in like a money box then. That was like, oh, it's getting heavier sort of thing. What am I going to spend it on? And I knew that we had, so when my mum got pregnant with myself and with my brother, she like set up a bank account for us so that she would put, like, if she found 20p on the floor, she would put that in the bank account, stuff like that. Just because, I think that's a cool thing to do as parents, because then you're sort of already helping your kids out, aren't you, when you have that. So So I knew of that, but I also knew that there was an age cap on it, I think. So I don't think I was allowed to touch that till I was like 18, 21, and I still
Yeah.
haven't touched it because, like, what for? At that point I was already, earning my own money. So that's like my earliest memory of money. And also, when I think about the fact I never asked them about their own money, I would ask about mine. So say, like, we're very open in my family about my money and Isaac's money, my brother. We don't really ask them about theirs. So but I think that's more like,
Mhm.
is this right? Is this statement right? Sort of thing. It's almost like asking for guidance, I guess, like
Yeah.
financial help. But speaking about it, like, I don't know. We are open and we're not. I just
Mm.
don't feel the need to ask them about their money.
It feels a bit taboo. Like it feels a bit like we said about politics in a previous episode. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it feels like one of those things. It's like if you were at a party or like a gathering with your friends, you probably wouldn't speak. I mean, maybe you'd speak about politics, but I feel like if you didn't know someone well enough, you probably wouldn't start talking about politics at a party, and you probably wouldn't start talking about money. Like
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just
I think the key word for me, what you just said, is of someone that you don't know. So yeah, I don't think I would bring that up with someone I don't know, but that's literally just down to trust. Like, as in, I don't know when it comes to money anyway. Like, I don't know you. Why would I be telling you about my finances? You could be a
yeah,
scammer for all I know. Whereas
right.
I actually think I'm pretty open with you, for example, when it comes to money and our
Mm,
closest friends. I don't really see what I have to filter myself about that for. Because what have I got to hide? Like, it's not like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see that as something to be uncomfortable about, because it's never like we're having discussions about money where it's making one of us feel uncomfortable, like as in like one of us has more or one of us has less, anything like that. And even if
Mhm.
that is how one of us feels, that's usually what we're talking about, like, oh, I feel like I'm struggling with money, it's annoying, like I want to be able to do more stuff with you or something like that. um
Yeah.
and I think that's important. Like, I find that that's important because, say if I didn't know, or say if, let's make it me, say if I'm really struggling with money and you didn't know that, and you keep inviting me out to all these places all the time, and I
Mm.
can't go. Isn't there a Friends episode like that does this, where, like, yeah, there is, Joey and Phoebe and Rachel can't afford anything, but Ross and Chandler can.
Yeah, it
And
kind of divides them, doesn't
yeah, yeah,
it?
yeah. But
Yeah.
because, like, there is that sort of awkwardness, or like, feeling shitty if you can't afford something and your friends can. And if they don't know that, they're not mind readers. So of course they want, if they're good friends, they're going to keep inviting you out. But if they don't know that that's making you feel sad because you can't do it, like, so I feel like it's good to have that sort of.
Yeah, I think it's like that slight kind of shame element, maybe. Like if we're talking about that episode, for example, it's like they feel like they're not on the same kind of level,
Right.
maybe career wise or whatever, because they haven't got money at that time.
Mm.
But also maybe like fear of being pitied, and you know
Yeah, yeah,
the
I
other
get that.
person seeing them as less than in some way, and being like, oh no, let me help you, let me pay for you to come out with us. And it's difficult because it's kind of like that friend is just coming from a good place in
Yeah,
wanting to spend time with you, wanting to help you out, and they're not saying, look, this is nothing, so let me just pay for it. It's more like, I want to spend time with you and I don't want you to miss
yeah.
out.
Yeah, because I'm
um
someone, I think it depends probably on my mood actually, but like, I don't like owing people money. I don't
yeah,
like it at all. It makes me feel uncomfortable because
yeah,
I think there is that element of, I should be able to afford something. But if at the end of the day a friend wants to pay something for me as a treat, or as a, you can pay me back whenever you want, if it's something that I really don't want to miss out on, then I'm not going to miss out on it, like, because I
yeah,
don't want that sort of regret. So I guess it's just about how comfortable you are with your friends, I think, and family.
mm,
I don't know about other family dynamics, but for my family personally, it's just literally because I don't need to ask them about their money. But when I think about certain situations where maybe they've needed a bit of money for certain things, like, say for example, I remember when I was at uni and I'd stayed at home for uni, but I got a maintenance loan just for 1 year, and I made that last over 3 years. I used that money for things for myself, like quite a few festivals. But anyway, there was a time where, like, I think our fridge broke, or our washing machine or something broke, and I didn't really like the thought of my parents like worrying how they're going to afford it. So I said, look, I've got money that I'm not using. Why don't you use that? And, like, where I live, just the room next door, like you can pay me back when you want sort of
Yeah.
thing. And so I didn't mind that, as in we didn't mind that conversation. I think we are actually, now I think about it, we are quite open about money.
Yeah.
But it's not like, what are you doing with your money today, mother? Like sort of thing.
Yeah, break down what you are spending everything on.
Absolutely not. It's just, like, are we good? Yep, we're good. Anyone need help here, sort of thing? No, we're good. That's basically it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't remember anything being explicitly said.
No.
But
for purpose or like naturally?
I think purposely. I think it was kind of like this dynamic of, we're the parents, so you don't need to worry about anything. We're gonna cover it. And even if there were times of struggle, like when it was what was it called, the recession, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Sasha was a lot younger, but we were kept kind of in the dark about it. And it was kind of
interesting.
Very much kind of, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Like, you'd overhear like snippets of conversation, so you knew something was going on.
Right.
But it wasn't openly spoken about as a family. And I think maybe that was because in my parents' head, it's like, well, no, we're the adults. Like, what are our kids going to do? Why should we worry our kids over an adult issue, right? So
see, that in our family we spoke about that. We
really?
But that was because everyone at school was talking about it. Everyone at school was being affected by it. Like a lot of people's families were getting affected. So I wanted to talk about it. I was like, are we good? Like what's going on? Like, especially like, worry head here. Like I was like, what's gonna happen? What do we need to do? Do we have to cut back on anything? Like what's the plan here? Sort of. And
I think there's also I think also it was they didn't want anyone else to know about it. Yeah. So I think my parents probably worried if they told me that I would go and tell someone else, and then someone else's family would find out that we're struggling, and that would be embarrassing for them.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so that makes sense. And I just think it shouldn't. I wish that the embarrassment and shame element wasn't there, because if that wasn't there, I think probably everyone would talk about money. But I think that is the biggest thing, isn't it? You don't have money, oh, that's embarrassing. You can't afford this, oh, that's embarrassing. Like, or things like that. I think that's mostly what it is.
Yeah. Why is that?
I genuinely think that's something that's been passed down from like generations. Like, I don't think that's like I don't know. It's weird.
It's really sad. It's like, you're putting food on your table. You've got a roof over your head. Like, you're in such a great position because you can't afford to go to Disney World in Florida. Yeah, no. That's not embarrassing. That costs like £10,000 to take your family. Like that's not embarrassing to not be able to afford that. That's pretty normal.
When I was younger as well. So I felt like every what do we have, like half terms or what they called?
Yeah, half term
breaks, but where they're long.
Well, the 2-week ones.
Yeah, is that still called a Easter?
There's Easter and Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those ones and the summer holidays as well. Most people I knew went away, like to Spain, or they often went somewhere either in Europe or maybe America, and I never went anywhere. And that's because we would save all of our money to be able to go to New Zealand, which, by the way, it costs a fuck ton, if anyone didn't know. So, that was where we would go, and we'd only do that maybe every few years or something. And even then, that's so like, how fortunate is that I've got to go to New Zealand like so many times in my life. Like so many people have never done that before. But in my head, because everyone around me was going to places every year, multiple times a year, I was like, oh my God, can we not afford things? Like it was sort of a bit strange. And that's so not the case. Like I just think it's the way sometimes it's the language again, it's the way that it's shown. I don't know. And then how you were saying how your family were like, no, you're the child, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
My family were kind of like that, but like for example, I remember when I was a kid, if I wanted something, I waited till my birthday or Christmas. I wouldn't get it whenever. Yeah. And then it got to the age where it's like, well, if you want something, you've got to go get a job and work for it. And so I just got that because I knew that that's what my parents had to do. Mm-hmm. And I've got nothing wrong with that. I'm glad that I've been working since I was 14. Like I've always made my own money, and I love that about my life and myself, because I feel like it's made me quite on it, like aware of things. Yeah. But I also understand what you did, where, not to say that you didn't work, obviously you've had jobs, but you didn't have to necessarily do that when you were younger, like as a teen sort of thing. I get both sides of it.
Yeah, but also I hated asking for money.
Yeah, that's my issue. I didn't want to ask for money.
I would have to be in a situation where I really wanted to do something, to go and ask for like 10-20 pounds to go out for dinner or something. I think because if I sensed at that time something was up, even though it wasn't openly spoken about, you get that feeling, right?
Yeah,
it was like, oh, I might be adding to their problem if I ask for any money. So that, yeah, I don't know. I think my approach would be, in my young family, like as Mila gets older, is to maybe pick and choose what I say, like you said, not needing to go into detail about things, but being transparent about the financial situation and what kind of boundaries there are. So like,
if he has questions, actually, like that would maybe make you think what you need to say. Yeah,
so I think just sort of, you know, if we're open about things, then maybe Mila wouldn't come to me and say, oh, can I have £200 for this festival ticket or something, when maybe we're not in a position to pay for it. Like maybe she'd like know, like sense the room, like what is going on.
Read the room, Mila.
yeah so I think but I completely understand my parents' way of it, because now I've got Mila, I'm like, well, I don't want her go like worrying, sat at school worrying, can mum and dad, you know, are they okay for money? Because you know, that's quite an adult problem to for a child to be thinking about. So I think you're, like you said, in your family where you've got that, are things okay, cool, that kind of approach is really good, I think, because it's not like, right, you know how much your mum and dad are paying for the mortgage each month, and this all this breakdown.
Yeah, like I didn't need or know the breakdown of any of that, and I was quite glad, because I think I wouldn't have had the brain capacity for it. But you know how you just said there about like £200 for a festival ticket, like to me, actually that makes me think about which quantities were my boundaries for asking my parents about money. So I would never ask for a festival ticket. There would be no way in hell, because they wouldn't pay for that either. Like it's not something that they just have like that type of money lying around, at least back then. So that to me would have been like, I wait for my birthday for that. I wait for like I waited till from the age of 4 to the age of 11 till I got my dog, you know. So I feel like that would also be something that would come into my head, like, okay, what's actually an acceptable amount of money to ask for? And I just didn't like that. I didn't like having to think, oh, no, I'll just get a job, then I can afford it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we could talk all day about this. But yeah, so this episode I personally wanted to dedicate to a small local business called For Heaven's Cakes, which both of us have purchased from. And we know Sarah, well, you know Sarah quite well, don't you, Right?
Yeah, I worked for her since I was 14 or 15. I've babysat for her family when I was a teenager, and then found out that she was this incredible cake maker. And yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely love the name of the business as well. For Heaven's Cakes, it's so clever. I absolutely love it. So Sarah Bedell makes the most beautiful cakes. She's been making cakes for myself, for my sister growing up, and now for my daughter as well, which is amazing. Mila turned 2 last week, and she had an amazing Peppa Pig cake, which was it had like white chocolate frosting on it. Oh my god, it was delicious, and we just didn't even want to cut into it. Like, it was just so
isn't that the worst, when you have something that's created so amazingly but it's for eating, and you're like,
oh. And you know, it must have taken hours as well, and you're like, oh, I feel so bad cutting into this. So I've always saved, like, we have I've always asked Sarah to put like a little person on top of it, so if it was Mila's birthday, a little Mila kind of figure made out of icing, and we keep them in the freezer, like we wrap them up in foil and keep them, not that we ever get them out, but it's just, I feel like, like a little person.
Oh, cute.
So you need to go and check out Sarah's designs, and trust me, the cakes taste just as good as they look. So you can find Sarah's page on Instagram, which is @For Heaven's Cakes. Go check out her designs. If you have any inquiries, you can just send her a private message, give her like a outline of what you're looking for, and she'll give you prices, her availability, everything like that.
And if you can't afford any of the cakes, just follow and like everything she posts. Literally just help boost her, because amazing.
Right, so thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Make sure to stream on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music.
We're everywhere.
Everywhere, YouTube. And make sure to follow us, to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let us know in the comments below anything about what you would spend that £64 million on.
I can't wait to hear the responses to that.
Right, thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.